Taylor Parker is the youngest woman in Texas to have been sentenced to death, and it all started with a lie. Now, if this sounds familiar, it's the basis of Netflix's documentary, Maternal Instinct. I'm going to tell you the whole story, even what they left out, and I'm going to do it in one part. We don't know a lot about Taylor's upbringing. What we do know is that she's been a pathological liar for a very long time. Friends of hers in high school say that they heard regularly about illnesses. She had seizures, she had MS, she had a stroke. There were a lot of different things. But then in high school, she really did become pregnant and she dropped out. She had her first child without the involvement of that father. She then went on to marry her first husband named Tommy and have another child with him. So here she has a daughter and a son. She was not a very good mother from all accounts. She then got divorced because she was a serial cheater, and she got married again to a man named Hunter. That relationship lasted literal months, and that ended in divorce as well. So we learned from Taylor's former friends that this was a time in her life that she was desperate for attention. In fact, one of her friends had become pregnant after battling with infertility for a long time, and so Taylor became desperate to become pregnant. However, Taylor had had a hysterectomy. She literally couldn't become pregnant. So she started asking everyone if they would be her surrogates. She would even pay them with her grandmother's fortune from being an heiress to the Morton Salt Company. That was not true. Thankfully, they all turned her down. So she then reached out to her mom and said, "Hey mom, can I have your uterus?" That part is true. So if pregnancy wasn't an option, she decided she needed a new man. So she approached someone named Wade Griffin at a rodeo, and she asked him out. And I think it helped that shortly after they started dating, she let him know that she was going to be the heir to oil and gas money, and she was going to be coming into millions of dollars if he was just a little bit patient. That patience came with its fair share of issues because Taylor constantly had drama with her mother because her mother was actively trying to ruin her life. You know, she was hiring hitmen to take Taylor out because she was battling for that same $1 million inheritance. So at this point, Taylor starts convincing Wade to spend money he doesn't have because remember, there's like $6 million of inheritance coming in. So Wade buys a really nice truck, he buys an ATV, he buys cows, and they even decide to buy this $4 million property together called Pecan Point. Now, as time went on, people in Wade's inner circle became more skeptical of Taylor because, for one, some of these things she was saying weren't really adding up. For example, this money that was supposed to be coming in just wasn't. And this land that they were supposed to buy, well, the lawyer that was vouching for her was named Lawlington. And the person who said that the oil money was coming in, well, her name was Shelley from Shell Oil. So some of this was looking like a little bit suspect. And when Taylor started feeling backed into a corner, she showed them all this email that her mom had sent saying, "I am actively trying to ruin Taylor's life, and it may look like she's lying to you, but that is because I am making it look like she's lying to you because I'm trying to ruin her life." But when that wasn't enough and she could tell that Wade was slipping away, she decided she had to do something drastic. So she announced that she was pregnant with Wade's baby, without a uterus. Now they're in a small town, so she posts this on Facebook and word spreads and everyone sees it. So doctors in town see this post and they know she can't possibly be pregnant. They gave her the hysterectomy, but because of HIPAA laws, they can't say anything. And anyone else that maybe could say something, like her old friends, the ones that knew she'd had a hysterectomy, she immediately blocked. But that didn't stop Wade's family and friends from being suspicious. They knew, for example, that Wade and Taylor hadn't been intimate since she announced her pregnancy. They also noticed little discrepancies in some of the things that she posted, like on her urine test that she brought back from the doctor, it had the wrong date and the wrong name on it. So when that was paired with the fact that Taylor's ex-husband reached out to Wade and said, Taylor can't possibly be pregnant, she had a hysterectomy, and he shared that with them, they tried to talk some sense into him and said, she's not pregnant, she's playing you, but it didn't work. He stood by her. So people in the community were waiting for a miscarriage announcement any day. But because everyone expected that, Taylor couldn't let that happen. She had to prove everyone wrong. So she had a different plan. A very, very dark plan. Now we know from her Google searches that she started looking up places that pregnant people spend time. She went to a clinic and sat outside of it and was watching pregnant people come in and go out. And she would look up their license plates and see if they were married and had a husband at home. She then went to a teen pregnancy home, hoping that might be a little bit more productive. We are now going to jump to about a month after Taylor's due date. She missed 2 appointments to be induced. One, because a fire was set underneath her house, and 2, because a bomb threat was called into the hospital. Now, while Wade is hours away, 911 gets a call from a frantic Taylor. She is on the freeway. She says there's a sheriff driving behind her following her because she's been speeding, but it's because she just had her baby in the car. Now, when police and paramedics show up, they see that she was telling the truth. There is a baby in her lap. Taylor's shaking. There's a brand new baby right there with the umbilical cord still attached. Unfortunately, it's not breathing, so they begin work on it right away. Oddly, Taylor is asking for them to take her to somewhere in Oklahoma across state lines rather than to the nearest hospital. They don't listen to her. They're trying to save this child's life, so they go to the closest hospital. Once they're there, everything begins to unravel. Because they check Taylor, they push on her stomach. There's no womb there. They do a vaginal check to make sure she's not hemorrhaging. She has no cervix. Clearly, she did not birth this baby. So whose baby is it? Now, at the same time, 911 gets a call from across town from a woman named Jessica Brooks. It is a hard call to listen to. She is trying to describe to the operator that her adult daughter, named Reagan Hancock, who is 34 weeks pregnant, has been murdered, and that she has just walked into her home and she has found a horrific, bloody crime scene. Police are quickly able to put together that Reagan Hancock was a friend of Taylor Parker, and the night before, Taylor reached out to Reagan looking for someone to talk to vent to. So she went over to Reagan's house and they hung out and they chatted. And then she came back the next morning. Now, Reagan's husband hadn't seen her after that, but he did start getting some strange text messages from her later in the morning, saying things like, I just want to be happy and this isn't working. And that was very unexpected. He couldn't leave work to go check on her, so we asked her mother, Jessica Brooks, if she could swing by, which is what she did. And that's where she found this terrible scene. When the police got there and they turned Reagan over, that's when they found that not only had she been murdered, but her abdomen had been cut side to side and her child had been fully removed. Taylor Parker had killed Reagan and stolen her baby. That baby didn't make it. We don't know exactly how it happened because we can't trust any of the stories that Taylor would later say. What we do know is that Reagan was probably alive while her child was being taken out of her because her fingernails were found in the placenta. So the medical examiner believes that she was holding on and digging into that placenta as Taylor was cutting it out and pulling it away. Taylor told a number of different stories. And while she was in jail awaiting prison, she had a number of schemes trying to get out of this, trying to blame other people. But ultimately, she went on trial, charged with 2 counts of capital murder, and a jury deliberated for 90 minutes and found her guilty. And she is now on death row. I know I promised one part. I will do a separate video talking about all of the different stories that Taylor told, trying to explain away what happened, because they're horrific.